What happens when a quiet and innocent-looking CIA hacker is forced to become a ruthless killer after the tragic death of his wife? When Charles discovered that the attack that killed his wife involved not just terrorists but also his own trusted officers, he vowed to kill every single person responsible. But can a simple man, who has never so much as held a gun, hunt down the world's most dangerous criminals? Or will he become their prey? The story begins with a CIA cryptographer named Charles, who is in his garage building an airplane for his loving wife, Sarah. Sarah comes to him and tells him she is going to London for a business meeting. Charles is sad that she's leaving, so Sarah asks him to come along. However, Charles can't go because of work. He happily says goodbye to Sarah and leaves for his CIA office. At the office, Charles's only best friend was Bear. During his work, Charles speaks with an anonymous source named Klein, who informs him that the director of the Special Activity Center, along with Charles's boss Moore, has planned a drone strike disguised as a suicide bombing. Charles ignores this and focuses on retrieving data. After hours of work, he uncovers that Moore conducted an operation with the government that resulted in many deaths, a truth Moore had successfully hidden. That night, Charles tries to call Sarah but can't get through. The next day at the office, Moore sends him to the CIA director, Samantha. Samantha informs him that his wife died in a terrorist attack. Charles is shown footage of the attack, and he is completely shattered because his life was incomplete without Sarah. In a daze, he heads home, but a crowd of media reporters is waiting outside. His friend helps him get inside the house, avoiding the media. The next day, Charles goes to the office to talk to Moore about the attack. He tells Moore that it should have been impossible for terrorists to enter that hotel, yet somehow they did. Moore cuts him off, assuring Charles that they will find the terrorists. Later, Charles receives all of Sarah's belongings and her body. Seeing them, he resolves to kill every one of her murderers. Charles learns the names of the attackers: Gretchen, Mishka, Alice, and Schiller. He also watches a video of the attack, which shows that the four had taken everyone in the hotel hostage. When Sarah tried to escape, she was killed. Taking this information, Charles goes to Moore and KLF the next day. He shows them the clips and explains that the four terrorists were not there to kill anyone, but had arrived at the hotel for a special meeting. However, their plan failed, and after arousing the suspicion of the guards, they took people hostage to escape the police. After hearing all this, Moore and KLF show no real reaction. Seeing this, Charles understands that they knew about all of this beforehand but took no action. Charles now threatens them, saying he will get justice for his wife himself. The next day, Charles prints out Moore's secret project and hides the data. At night, he goes to a bar, has a drink, and stares thoughtfully at a jukebox. The next day, Charles confronts Moore with proof of his dirty dealings, threatening him that the information is on a dead switch. He tells Moore that if he wants to keep the secret from being revealed, he must provide fight training and help him kill the four terrorists. Moore accepts his condition and decides to send him to a man named Robert Henderson for training. After Charles leaves, Moore and TLF decide to find and erase the information. They search the building but find no clue. After that, Charles's house is searched. They find out that Charles went to a bar and was looking at a machine. Thinking he hid information there, they go to the bar. KLF starts the jukebox, and a CD pops out, which they take to decode. Meanwhile, we see Charles, who has arrived at a training facility to be taught by Robert Henderson. Charles's training begins with shooting a gun, but he is very nervous and his aim is terrible. He fails the first round. After this, he is given the task of making a bomb, which he completes brilliantly. Henderson is very impressed by his speed. During this time, a fake ID is also made for Charles, allowing him to travel to other countries. Henderson explains to him that no matter how much someone tortures him, he must not reveal his real identity. By now, Henderson understood that Charles is a kind person who cannot harm anyone. At night, he tells him, "Don't do this because it doesn't suit your character." Charles replies that he only wants revenge for Sarah's death. Hearing this, Henderson tests Charles's courage by putting a gun in his hand and telling him, "If you have the guts, then shoot me." But Charles is unable to do it because he doesn't have that kind of criminal mindset. The scene then shifts to the CIA team, which was struggling to decode the CD from the jukebox. They finally realize that Charles didn't create a dead switch. His real goal was to misdirect them and plant a bug in their system. There was also a bug attached to the printed data. With this, Charles was listening to their every conversation. They now understand that it's impossible to defeat a mastermind like him. After his plan is exposed, Charles throws away his earbuds. After completing his training, Charles sets out to kill his 4 targets. Meanwhile, Moore orders Henderson to kill Charles, and Henderson begins to follow him. Charles travels from London straight to Paris for a terrorist named Gretchen. He finds her address, and when she leaves at night, he enters her home and starts searching. He clicks photos of important things and finds a gun in a drawer. Just then, Charles hears someone approaching and quickly hides. Gretchen is right in his line of sight, but he still can't bring himself to shoot her and returns home disappointed. While looking at the photos, he discovers that Gretchen frequently visits a hospital because she suffers from severe allergies. Knowing this, Charles finds another way to kill her. The next morning, he buys the flowers that Gretchen is allergic to. When Gretchen is at the hospital undergoing tests, Charles, disguised as a doctor, approaches her. He locks the chamber she is in and starts putting the allergenic flowers inside. Although Gretchen begs him to stop, Charles shows no mercy and asks her about the terrorist leader. Seeing her condition worsen, he lets her out. A fierce fight breaks out, and Gretchen tries to run away, but Charles wasn't going to let her go. He chases her with a gun, and they both run out onto the road. Just then, a car speeds towards Gretchen, hitting and killing her. Charles goes to her, picks up her phone from the ground, and flees. He returns home, and after cleaning the blood off his body, he sets out to kill his second target. Meanwhile, Moore gets the information that Gretchen has been killed and knows Charles is behind it. But Samantha tells him the death is being reported as an accident. On the other side, we see Charles sitting in a bar, drinking, unable to believe he has taken a life. Just then, he spots Henderson, who had followed him there. To escape, Charles runs to another bar, but Henderson follows him. Seeing him, Charles goes into a bathroom with no window to escape. Instead of running, Charles decides to talk to him. "How did you find me?" he asks. Henderson replies, "I knew you would have Gretchen's phone. I just tracked that phone to get to you." During their conversation, Charles creates a small explosion in the washroom and escapes, making the phone impossible to track. Charles messages his anonymous source, Klein, and asks for help. Klein tells him to come to Istanbul. When he arrives, a lady approaches him. It is revealed that she is Klein. She takes Charles to her hideout. On the way, she tells him, "I know everything that has happened to you." She also explains that her husband was a CIA agent who secretly worked for a Russian agency to feed information back to the CIA, but he was killed, and his death remains a mystery. Klein brings Charles to her secure house where a full security system is installed. She says that if the Russians ever attack, she can press a single button to erase all the information. She then pulls up the details of Charles's remaining 3 enemies. Meanwhile, Samantha, who knows Moore ordered Henderson to kill Charles, tells Moore to call off the plan. Charles tracks Mishka to a grand hotel, knowing he likes to swim in the glass-bottomed rooftop pool. To shatter the pool and kill Mishka, Charles builds a special device and returns to the hotel. There he sees a familiar man and realizes he is being followed. Henderson is also there. Klein, who had hacked the hotel's cameras, alerts Charles that CIA agents and Henderson are present. She advises him not to do anything yet, but Charles ignores her. He confronts Mishka at the pool and questions him about the leader of the terror attack. Mishka tells him nothing. In anger, Charles breaks the glass pool and Mishka falls to his death. Klein contacts Charles and tells him that Henderson is heading his way, so he needs to escape. As Charles runs, Henderson gets very close. But before he can do anything, Samantha's man attacks Henderson. As he tries to shoot him, Henderson kills him first. Taking advantage of the fight, Charles escapes. Moore realizes Samantha sent her own men to protect Charles. He asks Samantha for Charles's location, and she gives him the hotel's name. While checking the CCTV footage, Moore notices the earpiece in Charles's ear. They hack it, listen to his conversations, and learn about Klein. Are now back at her house in Istanbul. At night, the sound of ducks alerts Klein to danger. On the cameras, they see soldiers approaching the house. Klein quickly erases all the data and flees with Charles, but they are spotted and fired upon. In the chaos, their car crashes. Charles puts the injured Klein in the passenger seat and drives to a parking garage. Klein dies from her injuries, so Charles sets out on the mission alone. He arranges a weapons deal with Alice. Before leaving, he plants fake footage of himself on a camera in Berlin to mislead the CIA. He meets Alice and tells him to open a box filled with bombs, threatening him that if he tries anything clever, he'll detonate them. Charles demands his boss's name. He tells him it's Schiller and that he lives in the Baltic Sea. After getting the information, Charles leaves. The bomb explodes, killing Alice, Now, Charles goes after Schiller and keeps a close watch on his guards. One day, a stranger takes Charles to Schiller's hideout on a ship. Schiller already knows about the deal Charles made with Moore, and also knows his weakness. He dares Charles to shoot him. Just then, Schiller realizes his ship is heading in the wrong direction and the captain can't control it. Charles reveals that the ship is now on a course for the Gulf of Finland and won't stop until it gets there. A little later, the police arrive and arrest Schiller. The truth about Moore and KLF also comes out, and they are arrested. In the end, Henderson makes peace with Charles. We see Charles finishing the airplane he was building for Sarah and flying it in the air, and the movie ends.